Welcome to day 15 of positioning ourselves for our best year yet and unlocking the keys to our success. And if you've been enjoying this journey, all I ask is two things. One, subscribe, and two, share this video with someone else. And today we're going to be talking about hearing God's voice, growing in our ability to hear from the voice of God. So my question to you is, how do you hear God's voice? How does he speak to you? And I want you to know that God speaks to us in many different ways. He can speak to us at any time, any place, any moment. And how he speaks to you is unique to you. So it's not this one size fits all cookie cutter approach. God will speak to you in a unique way that's unique and specific to you. For some, it may be your prayer closet. It may be during your worship music and meditation music. For some, it may be in complete silence. For some, it may be connecting with nature, going on a walk. It may be jogging. For me, how he speaks to me best is quiet space, and when I open my journal, writing. So when I take time to journal and to write, that's when he speaks to me, or that's how I hear him most clearly. He gives me ideas. He puts certain people on my heart to pray about, to think about. He brings certain things to my remembrance. But you have to find your sweet spot and identify how you hear God most clearly. So it's important that we all prioritize and make time to identify how we hear God's voice most clearly. And this is important because he has all the answers. Everything that we want to know, he already knows. So that's why it's so important that we prioritize hearing the voice of God and identifying how we connect with him best. So as we prioritize carving out time to hear from God, we want to begin to find what we call our sweet spot in sports or in basketball. And your sweet spot is the point or the space on the court where you've mastered, you've perfected, you've put in the time. So whenever somebody throws you the ball in your sweet spot, it's almost guaranteed that you give it to me here and it's going in. And so when it comes to hearing from God's voice, we have to find our sweet spot. Because again, he can speak to us anytime, any place, anywhere. But our sweet spot is where we get to hear from him most clearly and most frequently. So the question is, where's your sweet spot and how do you hear from him most clearly? So here are 4 things that we can do to help us find and identify our sweet spot. The first thing is get away from distractions. So it's going to require us to get away from the busyness of our day-to-day and find a space where it's just you and him. The second thing is when we find that space is we want to ask God to fill us with his presence. We want to ask him to speak to us, to speak to our heart, to speak to our mind, to speak to our spirit and our soul, and ask him that he would open up your mind, your heart, your spirit, and your ears to hear what he wants to say. Ask him to reveal the things that he wants you to know. Ask him to reveal the obstacles or the things that are hindering you and us from our growth and our development. Ask him to lead you, to guide you, to teach you. And ask him to help you draw closer to him and to hear his voice more clearly. ask him for it. The third thing is we have to wait. We have to be still so that we can hear from him. And when I say be still is not so much a physical posture. It's more so of being still in our focus, in our attention, to allow him to speak to us. So again, if your thing is taking a walk or going jogging, that may be physical movement, but when you're doing it, you're focused on hearing from the voice of God, allowing him to speak and deposit things into your heart, into your spirit, into your soul. The fourth thing is we want to jot the things down that come to our mind, that he puts and deposits into our spirit. So the things that we receive while we are waiting, write those things down. And I know I said 4, but I actually have 5. And the fifth thing is obedience. As we grow in obedience, then that's when he begins to reveal himself and his plans for us even more. So, our action items for today. Take action and identify your sweet spot so you can grow in hearing God's voice more frequently and more clearly. Again, we can hear from God anywhere, anytime, any place. But the key is hearing it more often, more frequently, and more clearly. And we do that when we find our sweet spot and we're intentional about connecting with him. So if you've enjoyed this video, all I ask is 2 things. 1, subscribe, and 2, share it with someone else.